The command deck of the Xylo Citadel was quiet and calm. The lights were low. Giant screens showed the dark space outside, filled with stars. Commander Kale stood in the center of the room. He was tall and thin, with skin the color of moonlight. His large, black eyes watched the main screen. He was proud of this place. The Citadel was a strong fortress, built by many alien races working together. It was a symbol of peace and power. Nothing could break through its shields. A soft beep sounded. A junior officer spoke. Live fire exercise is ready, Commander. Kale nodded. Show me. The main screen changed. It now showed a view from inside a large training bay. The bay was a big, empty room with metal walls, open to space on one side. Small, fast-moving drones zipped around like angry insects. Their job was to be targets. The focus was on one figure. His name was Park Jun. He was the human. He wore a bulky white environment suit. It looked old and simple next to the sleek armor of the others. Jun held a plasma rifle. It was a standard weapon for the Coalition. It should have felt natural in his hands. It did not. Begin, Kale said on the screen. Jun lifted his rifle. He aimed at a drone. He fired. A bright bolt of blue energy shot out. It flew past the drone, missing it by a large distance. It hit a small piece of old space junk floating far away, turning it into dust. A quiet laugh was heard on the command deck. It came from Lyra, the Ilarian flight officer. She was graceful, with long fingers that danced over her controls. Her shots in training were always perfect. She never missed. Jun fired again, and again, and again. Each blue bolt missed its target. They hit random pieces of debris, small asteroids, or nothing at all. The drones flew on, untouched. On another part of the screen, 2 other soldiers could be seen. One was Lyra in her small, fast ship. Her plasma cannons fired quick, precise bursts. 1, 2, 3 drones exploded into little fireworks. The other was Gore, a Bronton. He was huge, with thick green skin and muscles like rocks. He manned a large turret. His blasts were not precise. They were huge and powerful. He didn't aim at one drone. He aimed at a group of them. His big blast would wipe out 3 or 4 at once. The difference was embarrassing. The human, Jun, was the only one not hitting anything. His accuracy rating is below 5%, Lyra said, not even trying to hide her amusement. A child could do better. Gore grunted over the comms. His voice was deep and rough. He holds the rifle like it might bite him. It is pathetic to watch. Kale watched, his face showing no emotion, but he was disappointed. The human race was new to the Galactic Coalition. They were not known for their fighting skills. They were known for being stubborn and for asking too many questions. Sending this Jun was supposed to be a gesture of goodwill, a way to include them. Now Kale saw it as a mistake. This human was a weakness. He was a hole in their strong defense. The exercise ended. Jun had not hit a single drone. The scoreboard on the screen confirmed it. 0 hits. Later, in the mess hall, Jun sat alone at a small table. He ate his food, paced quietly. He could hear the whispers. He could feel the looks from the Zillion, Ilarian, and Bronton crew. They did not see a colleague. They saw a joke. He heard a word the Brontons used for something useless, Graka. He heard the soft, musical sigh the Ilarians made when they were disappointed. He understood them all. The translation device in his ear made sure of it. He did not react. He just ate. Commander Kale walked into the mess hall. Everyone straightened up. Kale walked directly to Jun's table. The room went quiet. Park Jun, Kale said, his voice formal and cold. Jun looked up. Commander, your performance today was unacceptable, Kale said. He did not raise his voice. He did not need to. This is a military station. Every person must be able to defend it. You cannot. Jun nodded slowly. I understand, sir. I am reassigning you, Kale continued. You will report to the lower engineering decks. You will assist the maintenance AI with system diagnostics. You are not to carry a weapon. You are not to participate in any more combat drills. Is that clear? The punishment was public. It was a humiliation. Jun was being sent to the basement, told to count boxes and check wires. Yes, Commander, Jun said. His voice was calm. There was no anger in his eyes. No shame. Just a quiet acceptance. Kale turned and left. The whispers started again, louder this time. Jun finished his meal. He stood up, placed his tray in the cleaner, and walked out of the mess hall. He took the lift down to the lower decks. The air here was different. It smelled of oil and ozone. The lights were brighter, harsher. The gentle hum of the command deck was replaced by the loud groan of engines and the clang of machinery. He found his new workstation. It was a small desk with a screen next to a large silent AI core. A young woman was there, looking at a schematic on the wall. She turned when he entered. It was Kim Mina, the other human on the Citadel. She was an engineer. Her hands were smudged with grease, and her dark hair was tied back in a simple knot. She looked at him for a moment. She had heard the news. So, she said, "You're the new maintenance guy." "It seems that way," June replied. "They're all talking about it upstairs," Mina said, shaking her head. "Calling you the storm that misses." June almost smiled. He walked over to the main console and began calling up system reports. "A storm has many parts," he said, his eyes on the screen. "The lightning is just the one you see." Mina frowned, not understanding. She watched him. He wasn't sad or angry about his demotion. He seemed interested. He was scrolling through pages and pages of information. He wasn't looking at weapon schedules or battle tactics. He was looking at the boring stuff. Structural integrity fields, power conduit flow rates, heat dispersion schematics. "What are you doing?" she asked. "My job," June said. "System diagnostics." He zoomed in on a part of the Citadel's blueprint. It showed a network of power relays running along the outer hull. "This station is very complicated. It is best to know how it works." Mina shrugged and went back to her work. She thought he was just trying to save face. But she noticed he kept asking questions. Simple questions. Where does the backup power for the gravity generator come from? What happens if the primary coolant system fails? How are the sensor nodes on the outer hull shielded? They were the questions of a curious student, not a disgraced soldier. As June looked at the complex web of systems that made up the fortress, his eyes were not those of a man who had given up. They were the eyes of a man who was just beginning to see. Life on the lower decks had a different rhythm. It was not the quiet, tense waiting of the command deck. It was the loud, steady heartbeat of the station itself. Park June adapted to it quickly. His days were now filled with the roar of the engines and the smell of hot metal. His new job was simple. He helped the station's AI run checks on different systems. He would go to a panel, open it, and scan the wires and circuits inside. He would note if anything was broken or worn out. It was boring, repetitive work. Most of the crew upstairs had forgotten he existed, and that was just fine with him. Mina was often his partner. She was a practical woman with a sharp mind for machines. She did not treat him like a failure. She treated him like another worker. They would often eat their meals together in a small room near the engine core, the air vibrating around them. One day, she slid into the seat across from him. "You know, they've given you a new name upstairs," she said, stirring her food paste. June looked up. "Oh, yeah," Mina said. "They call you the ghost, because you vanished. No one sees you anymore." June nodded slowly. "A ghost is quiet. It sees but is not seen. It is not a bad thing." Mina log het. "Is that how you see everything? You turn every insult into something wise." June did not answer. He just went back to eating. Later, they were checking the power conduits in Sector 7. June was looking at a blueprint on his datapad. It showed the entire network of wires that gave power to the Citadel. "Why are you so interested in these old plans?" Mina asked, tightening a bolt. "This station was built 50 years ago. Everything works. There is no mystery here. Every machine has a story," June said, his finger tracing a line on the screen. "See this conduit? It is a backup for the main life support, but it runs right next to the primary heat sink for the starboard thrusters. If the thrusters overheated, the heat could damage this power line. Then, if the main life support failed, the backup would also fail." Mina stopped her work and looked at him. "That would never happen. There are a dozen safety systems to prevent that. 5 different shields and coolants. It is an impossible scenario." "Impossible is just a word for a problem you have not met yet," June replied. He did not say it in a smart way. He said it like he was stating a simple fact, like saying the sky is blue. This was how June was. He asked questions. He looked at the parts of the station that everyone else ignored. He was not interested in the big guns or the strong shields. He was interested in the small, hidden things. The pipes, the wires, the vents, the places where one system touched another. He spent his free time walking the long, quiet hallways of the lower levels. He would stop and look at a junction box for a long time. He would take notes on his datapad. He was mapping the station in his mind. Not the pretty map they showed new crew members. He was making a map of the bones and the veins of the Citadel. One evening, Mina found him in the observation room. It was a small, round room with a big window looking out at space. The gas giant the station orbited filled the view, its swirling colors of orange and blue beautiful and peaceful. June was not looking at the planet. He was looking at the station itself. He was looking at the outside of the Citadel, at the metal plates and the sensor dishes. "What are you looking for out there?" Mina asked, leaning against the doorway. "Patterns," June said. "The station was built by many different races. The Zillions built the core. The Ilarians added the sensor wings. The Brontons built the armor plates. Each race has its own way of building, its own style, its own weaknesses. Weaknesses. Mina walked over to stand beside him. This is the strongest fortress in the sector. It has no weaknesses. Everything has a weakness, June said. He pointed at a part of the hull. See that panel? The one with the 3 circles? That is an Alarian design. It is beautiful and efficient, but it is delicate. A small hit in the right place could make the whole panel come loose. And behind that panel are the main communication relays for the command deck. Mina stared at him. How do you know that? That is not on any public schematic. I look, June said simply. I see the wires behind the walls. A warning alarm blared, soft but urgent. It was not a battle alarm. It was a call for senior staff to go to the command deck. Something is happening, Mina said. They went to a monitor on the wall. June switched it to the command deck channel. Commander Kale's face was on the screen, looking more serious than usual. We have just received a priority message, Kale said to his officers. A Tarkesian Horde battle fleet has been detected. They have entered the star system. Their trajectory suggests they are coming here. The air on the command deck was suddenly electric. Lyra sat up straight, her fingers flying over her console. Gore cracked his thick knuckles, a low growl coming from his throat. The Tarkesians, Mina whispered, her face pale. They are brutes. They do not take prisoners. They just break things. On the screen, Kale looked confident. Do not worry. Their fleet is large, but their technology is simple. They believe in raw power. They will try to hit us with everything they have. And they will fail. The Xylo Citadel has never fallen. It will not fall today. All crew to battle stations. This is not a drill. The broadcast ended. The station's gentle hum changed to a louder, deeper tone. The battle preparation signal. Down in the lower decks, the mood was tense. The engineers and workers moved faster, their faces worried. Mina turned to June. Well, Ghost, what do we do now? This is what this station was built for. June looked away from the monitor. He looked out the observation window again, at the strong, silent walls of the fortress. Yes, he said quietly. This is what it was built for. But the Tarkesians will not attack the way Kale thinks they will. How do you know how they will attack? Mina asked. Because I would not attack the shields, June said. He turned and started walking toward the engineering station. I would attack the thing that holds the shields up. Let's go. We have work to do. The quiet of the Xylo Citadel was gone. It was replaced by a deep, vibrating hum. Red lights flashed in the hallways, casting long, dancing shadows. The battle station's alarm was a sound you felt in your bones. On the command deck, Commander Kale stood like a statue. His large, black eyes were fixed on the main screen. A swarm of red dots moved closer. The Tarkesian Horde fleet. They were ugly ships, looking like rocks and claws, built for breaking, not for beauty. Shields at full power, an officer reported, his voice tight. All weapon systems are online and charged, said another. Lyra was already in her fighter, a small, graceful ship waiting in the launch bay. Her voice was calm over the comms. Wing leaders report ready. We are the first response. Gore's voice was a low rumble from the main gun battery. My cannons are hungry. Let them come. Down in the lower decks, the feeling was different. The vibration was stronger here, a constant shake that made the tools on the walls rattle. Kim Mina was at her engineering station, her face lit by the blue glow of her screens. Her hands moved quickly, checking the power levels for the station's shields and weapons. Park Jun stood beside her. He was not looking at the battle plans. He was watching the station's internal diagnostics. He watched the flow of power through the conduits. He watched the temperature of the heat sinks. He watched the stress levels on the structural supports. To him, this was the real battle. The fight outside was just noise. The first wave is approaching, Kale's voice said over the general address system. Stand firm. We are the wall they cannot break. On the main screen, the Tarkesian ships opened fire. Great balls of green plasma shot toward the citadel. They slammed into the invisible shield that surrounded the station. The shield flashed bright blue where it was hit, like a pond rippling from a thrown stone. The station shuddered, but it held. Shields holding at 98%, the officer reported. No damage. Kale allowed himself a small, cold smile. This was going as planned. Now, the citadel fired back. Lyra's fighter wing shot out from the launch bays. They were like silver fish swimming through a sea of monsters. Her shots were perfect. She weaved between the enemy fire, her plasma cannons taking out the smaller Tarkesian ships one by one. Then, the big guns spoke. Gore's artillery battery fired. A huge beam of white energy cut through the darkness. It hit a Tarkesian cruiser in the center. The cruiser exploded in a silent, brilliant flash of light. The crew on the command deck cheered. They are like insects hitting a window, Lyra said, her voice crisp over the comms. More insects to crush. Gore laughed. The battle continued. The Tarkesians kept coming. They kept firing. The Citadel's shields glowed brightly, absorbing the punishment. The station's guns fired again and again, tearing the enemy fleet apart. Seemed easy. It seemed like a sure victory. Mina let out a breath she didn't know she was holding. They're not even getting close. The shields are too strong. June did not look up from his screen. They are testing. They are looking for a weakness. They are not stupid. They are just direct. How can you be so calm? Mina asked, her voice tense. This is a real battle. A battle is just another system, June said. It has inputs and outputs, causes and effects. Right now, the input is their firepower. The output is our shield strength. It is a simple equation. On the command deck, Kale saw the same equation. And they were winning. The Tarkesian fleet was being destroyed. They had lost many ships. The Citadel had lost none. His confidence grew. The human June was forgotten. This was a warrior's work. Then something changed. The Tarkesian ships stopped firing their plasma cannons. They pulled back, forming a wide circle around the Citadel. A single, massive ship moved to the front. It was their dreadnought. It was bigger and uglier than all the others. A long, spike-like structure on its front began to glow with a dull, yellow light. They are powering a new weapon, Lyra reported. Energy signature is unknown. It does not match any plasma or kinetic technology. Kale leaned forward. Evasive maneuvers. All power to forward shields. It's not aimed at our shields, Commander, the sensor officer said, confused. The targeting. It's aimed at the station's superstructure itself. Before anyone could react, the dreadnought fired. But it did not fire a bolt of energy. It fired a wave. A visible wave of distorted space. A shimmering ripple of sound and force that moved silently through the vacuum. It completely ignored the Citadel's powerful shields. The shield was designed to stop energy and objects. This was something else. This was a resonant frequency. The wave hit the station. The effect was instant and terrifying. The entire Citadel groaned. It was a deep, metal sound of pain. The deck plates under Kale's feet buckled. Lights flickered and went out. Crew members were thrown from their chairs on the lower decks. It was worse. The violent shaking was magnified. A pipe burst near Mina, spraying hot steam. Alarms blared everywhere. Structural integrity field failing on decks 7 through 12. Mina yelled, reading the disaster on her screen. The resonance. It's vibrating the metal at its natural frequency. It's tearing us apart from the inside. Another wave hit. This one was stronger. A console on the command deck exploded, throwing a Zillion officer across the room. The main screen flickered and died. Report, Kale shouted, holding onto his chair to stay upright. The emitters for the structural field are overloading. They can't handle the vibration. If they fail, the station will break in half. Panic began to set in. This was not a battle they had trained for. You could not shoot a sound wave. Their powerful weapons were useless. Their strong shields were useless. The Tarkesians had found the one way to hurt them. Gore fired his cannons at the dreadnought, but the blasts were wild and missed. The shaking was too violent to aim. Lyra's fighters flew around it, but their small weapons did nothing to its thick armor. Kale felt a cold fear. His fortress, his unbreakable wall, was cracking, and he had no idea how to stop it. Down below, Mina looked at June. His face was still calm, but his eyes were focused, moving quickly over the data on his screen. He was not looking at the damage reports. He was looking at a schematic of the station's power grid. What are you doing? She screamed over the noise of tearing metal. We're coming apart. June's fingers flew across the console. The resonance is a key, he said, his voice surprisingly steady. And the station has a lock. I just need to find it. He was not fighting the enemy. He was reading the station, listening to its cries, and searching for a way to help it. The real battle, for Park June, had just begun. Chaos ruled the Xylo Citadel. The deep, violent shaking was constant now. Metal screamed as it was stressed beyond its limits. Sparks showered from broken panels on the walls and ceiling. The red emergency lights flashed, making the panic look like a series of frozen pictures. On the command deck, Commander Kale held onto his chair. His mind, usually so sharp and clear, was blank. He was a warrior. He knew how to fight an enemy he could see and shoot. This was different. This was an attack on the very body of his station. He was helpless. Another wave is building on the dreadnought, the sensor officer yelled, his voice cracking with fear. Can we target that weapon? Kale shouted back. No, sir. Our targeting systems are offline. The shaking is too much. They were trapped inside their own fortress, and the walls were falling on them. Down in the lower decks, the situation was even worse. Mina fought to stay at her station. Her screen was a list of red warnings and failure reports. The structural integrity field was collapsing. It was like the skeleton of the station was turning to dust. She knew the numbers. If the field dropped below 20%, the Citadel would break in half from its own weight and motion. She looked at Park Jun. He was a rock in the storm. While everyone else was panicking, he was working. His eyes were fixed on his own screen, which showed a complex web of power lines and system schematics. He was not looking at the problems. He was looking for connections. The resonance is a very specific frequency, Jun said, more to himself than to Mina. It is not random noise. It is a key. It is designed to match the natural vibration of our primary structural emitters. What does that mean? Mina cried out. It means they did not just get lucky, Jun said. They have a blueprint of our station. They know its weak points. He typed in a command. And the emitter's failsafe system, it is making it worse. It is trying to fight the vibration by vibrating in the opposite rhythm. But the timing is wrong. It is amplifying the shaking. Another powerful tremor hit. A heavy light fixture tore loose from the ceiling and crashed to the floor near them. Mina flinched, but Jun didn't even look up. We have to do something, she pleaded. Jun took a deep breath. He opened a channel to the command deck. It was the general comms, so everyone could hear. His voice was quiet but clear. A strange calm in the middle of the storm. Commander Kale. On the command deck, Kale heard the voice. He recognized it. It was the human, the one he had sent away. For a second, he was too surprised to be angry. This is not the time, human. Route all auxiliary power to the gravitational anchor on the lower spine. Jun continued, his voice steady. Initiate emergency coolant flush in Sector Gamma. Now. Kale was stunned. He was being given orders? By the useless human from the basement? Human. This is not your... Do you owe it? The scream that came over the comms was not from Jun. It was from Mina. Her voice was raw with terror and urgency. He knows. Just do it. The command deck was shaking apart. He had no other options. His own officers looked at him, lost. With a snarl of frustration, Kale punched the commands into his console. Do it. All power to the lower spine anchor. Coolant flush in Sector Gamma. Now. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, the violent shaking lessened just a little. It was still bad, but it was no longer a world-ending tremor. It was enough for people to get back to their feet. A flicker of hope appeared on the command deck. How did he do that? Lyra whispered over the fighter comms on the lower deck. Mina stared at Jun. How did you know that would work? The gravitational anchor is the heaviest, most solid part of the station, Jun explained, his fingers already flying across his console again. Giving it more power made it a temporary stabilizer, a point that resisted the shaking. The coolant flush in Sector Gamma cooled the overheated emitters there. It bought us a little time. Not much. He was now working in perfect tandem with Mina. He started calling out a rapid series of commands, asking for tiny adjustments to systems that seemed completely unrelated. Mina, reroute power from the starboard cargo bay lights to the secondary life support battery. That makes no sense. The lights are useless. Just do it. She did it. Now, cycle the air filtration in Sector 12 on a 3-second loop. That will strain the motors. It will create a counter-vibration in the ventilation shafts. It will disrupt the resonance pattern for 2.8 seconds. Do it. Mina's eyes went wide. She was an engineer. She saw the logic. It was crazy, but it was brilliant. He was using the station's own minor systems as a weapon against the sound wave. He was fighting music with plumbing. She looked at him, a memory flashing in her mind. The training exercise. Jun missing every shot. Him hitting random pieces of debris. Jun, she said, her voice a whisper of disbelief. Your missed shots during the exercises. The debris you hit. Jun didn't look up from his console. His face was focused. Every piece of debris I vaporized was a poorly shielded sensor node or a secondary power relay for the structural emitters. I was not missing the targets. I was testing the station's hidden weak points. I was mapping how it responds to stress. I was always a structural analyst, not a soldier. The revelation hit Mina like a physical blow. Every single miss had been a deliberate act of data collection. While the others saw a clumsy fool, he had been conducting the most important research on the station. He had been studying the patient's health by gently tapping its reflexes. Up on the command deck. They heard everything over the open comms. Commander Kale stood frozen, the truth washing over him. The shame was hot and immediate. He had mocked this man. He had demoted him. He had seen only what he wanted to see. And now, that man was the only thing standing between them and death. Lyra and Gore were silent on their comms. The human they had laughed at had been seeing a battle they couldn't even imagine. Jun's voice came over the comms again. calm and clear. The stabilizations are only temporary. The dreadnought is powering for another wave. We cannot stop the resonance from outside. We must stop it at the source. How? Kale asked, and for the first time, his voice held respect when he spoke to the human. Their weapon is not on the dreadnought, June said. The dreadnought is just the power source. The resonance is being projected from a smaller ship, hidden by a cloaking field. It is sitting right next to the dreadnought, perfectly synchronized. How do you know? Gore's rough voice asked. Because the resonance is too perfect, June said. It is being guided. It needs a close-range projector to tune it so precisely. I can see the energy echo on the station's long-range sensor ghost log. It is there. Then I will blow it out of space. Gore roared. You cannot target it. Its cloak makes it invisible to your systems. June paused. But I can give you the coordinates. You can see a cloaked ship? Lyra asked, amazed. No, June said. But I can calculate where it must be. I know the exact point in our structure the resonance is hitting. I know the speed of the wave. I can trace the path backwards. I know where the musician is standing. A set of coordinates appeared on Gore's targeting screen. Gore, June said, I need you to fire a full power plasma burst at these coordinates. It will look like a complete miss to everyone else. Gore looked at the numbers. The coordinates were in empty space, far to the side of the Tarkesian dreadnought. Why? There is nothing there. Just do it. Commander Kale ordered, his voice firm. He trusted the human now. He had no other choice on the gun deck. Gore aimed his massive cannon at the empty spot in space. He grunted. It went against all his instincts. He fired. A huge beam of white energy shot from the citadel, flying toward what looked like nothing at all. Every person on the command deck held their breath, watching the screen. For a moment, it seemed like June was wrong. It seemed like a wasted shot. Then, a moment later, a small Tarkesian ship flickered into view. Its cloaking field failed as the powerful plasma bolt tore right through its center. The ship exploded into a million silent pieces. The deep, groaning shaking throughout the citadel stopped. Immediately, the sudden silence was louder than any explosion. The station was still. The red emergency lights kept flashing, but the violent tremors were over. The hidden musician was dead. The music had stopped. In the quiet, all eyes on the command deck turned to the monitor showing the lower engineering deck. They looked at the calm face of Park June. The human they had mocked for missing every shot had just made the most important shot in the history of the Xylo Citadel. And he had made it without even lifting a rifle. The silence inside the Xylo Citadel was heavy and strange. For so long, the air had been filled with the sound of groaning metal and screaming alarms. Now, there was only the gentle hum of the engines and the slow, blinking red lights. It was a quiet that felt like a gift on the command deck. No one spoke. They were all looking at the main screen. The Tarkesian dreadnought hung in space, silent and confused. The ship that had been its hidden partner was now just a cloud of dust and broken pieces. Without the resonance weapon to break the citadel, the dreadnought was just a big, slow target. It was useless. Commander Kale was the first to move. He straightened his uniform. His body felt stiff. He looked at the faces of his crew. He saw their shock. He saw their relief. He also saw their shame. They were all thinking the same thing. They were thinking about the human in the lower decks. Gore, Kale said, his voice rough. Target the dreadnought. Disable its engines. Do not destroy it. I want them to surrender. Gore's voice came back, quieter than before. Yes, Commander. A single, powerful blast shot from the citadel. It hit the dreadnought's engine section. The big ship went dark, its lights dying. It was now just a floating rock. A message was sent demanding their surrender. The battle was over. The citadel had won. But the victory felt different. It did not feel like the victory they had expected. It did not feel like a victory of strength and power. It felt like a victory of something else. Something they did not understand. Kale turned away from the screen. I am going to the lower decks, he said to his officers. No one questioned him. They all knew where he was going. And why. He walked through the damaged hallways. He saw the bent metal and the broken panels. He saw the places where the station had almost torn itself apart. Every broken piece was a reminder of his failure. He had been the commander, and he had not seen the truth. He reached the lower engineering deck. The door slid open. The room was a mess. Tools were scattered on the floor. Smoke drifted from a broken console. Kim Mina was sitting on a crate, her head in her hands. She looked up when Kale entered. Her face was tired and smudged with grease. And there was Park June. He was standing at his main console. The screen in front of him was still showing the complex station schematics. He was typing, finishing his notes on the system damage. He was doing his job. Kale stopped a few feet away from June. He did not know what to say. How do you thank the man you publicly shamed for saving your life? How do you apologize for not seeing his value? June finished typing and turned around. He looked at Commander Kale. His face was calm. There was no anger in his eyes.
No prive.
No, I told you so. He just waited. Park June. Kale began, his voice formal. The Tarkesian fleet has surrendered. The battle is won. He paused, struggling for the right words. The station. We owe you our lives. June gave a small nod. The station is strong. It just needed a different kind of help. How? Kale asked, the question bursting from him. How did you know? How did you see what none of us could see? June looked around the damaged room. You see a fortress, Commander. You see shields and guns and strong walls. I see a machine. A very big, very complicated machine. And every machine can be understood. Every machine has a rhythm. The Tarkesians played a bad song for this machine. A song that made it sick. I just helped it find its own rhythm again. It was so simple when he said it. It was not magic. It was not a secret weapon. It was just understanding. I was wrong about you, Kale said, the words difficult but honest. We all were. We mocked you. I demoted you. I am sorry. There is no need for sorry, June said. You saw a soldier who could not shoot. I was never a soldier. My people, we are new to your coalition. We are not the strongest or the fastest. But we are curious. We learn. We look at problems from a different angle. Sometimes that is more powerful than a plasma rifle. Just then, Lyra and Gore appeared at the doorway. They had come down from the command deck and the gun battery. They walked into the room slowly. They looked at June with a new respect. Gore, the huge Bronton, stopped in front of June. He looked down at the small human. Then he did something surprising. He placed his large green fist over his own chest. It was the Bronton gesture of deep respect. Your aim is the truest I have ever seen, human, Gore said. You did not shoot at the drone. You shot at the hunter controlling it. Lyra bowed her head, an Ilarian sign of apology and gratitude. I called you the storm that misses, she said, her musical voice soft. I was the one who was blind. You were not the lightning that misses. You were the quiet wind that finds the crack in the mountain. You are the storm that shapes the rock. June accepted their words with the same calm nod. Kim Mina stood up and stood beside June. She smiled at him. So, what do we do now? She asked. June looked at his screen, then at the damaged station around them. Now, he said, we fixed the machine. There is much work to do. Commander Kale looked at the two humans. He saw the engineer, Mina, with her practical skill. And he saw the analyst, June, with his deep understanding. He saw the true strength they brought. It was not a loud strength. It was a quiet one. Park June, Kale said. Your position on this station is changed. You are no longer a junior liaison. You are our chief of systems analysis. You will have full access to every part of the Citadel. Your only job is to understand it, to find its weaknesses before our enemies do. June thought for a moment. Then he gave another small nod. It is a good job, he said. I will do it. The story of the battle spread quickly through the station. The story of the human who could not shoot, but who had saved them all. The mockery was gone. It was replaced by a sense of awe. They had learned a lesson. They had learned that strength is not always about power. Sometimes, the strongest person is not the one who fires the loudest gun. Sometimes, it is the quiet one in the corner, watching, learning, and understanding. The one who, when the fortress is crumbling, knows exactly which stone to touch to make it whole again.